All right. Welcome to Coffee and Crabs. I'm Tommy.
I'm Brian.
Coffee and Crabs. This is our fourth show?
Yeah, I think it is our fourth. Yeah.
Okay. And I ask you every time to describe exactly what this show is about for everyone that's listening.
You know, and every time we do it, I give you a different answer. So.
I know. That's why I ask you to give the answer, not me.
Oh, man. Well, Coffee and Crabs, it's a innovation-based show where we talk about innovation from a local perspective, regional perspective, and a national perspective. I guess some cases we even talk international. So,
yeah, I mean, I think nowadays national is almost always going to be international as well. I guess the thing that I always forget to do is explain to people why we're the ones talking. So, what
is that? I don't know.
I don't know either, other than we just kind of do what we're told. But so I run Techport, which is where we're sitting right now. We are in an airplane hangar. I also drink a ton of coffee, which is why the show is called Coffee and Crabs. Brian, why don't you tell everyone what you do?
Well, President, Jordan Research and Development, former naval aviator. I'm also a tenant here at Techport. Happy to be here, and we were asked to do this show. Apparently, we have a good rapport, so here we are.
Yeah, people keep saying that. I don't know. I don't know. Just kidding. Okay, so in a nutshell, what I like to tell people is that this is a very casual show.
Yeah.
We do a lot of shows here, which I remind everybody. Not that they're necessarily formal, but this one is definitely a little more casual. We have been bringing guests in digitally or virtually,
right?
But today we have live guests, which will be a little interesting. It's going to kind of feel a little talk showy where we will just randomly say, and now our guests, and they'll just kind of enter onto the sides of the screen.
I kind of like that, though. I think I like having a live person here to talk to. I feel more comfortable as opposed to talking to a computer screen.
Yeah, it'll allow for a little more dialogue.
Can I
but
get a cup, by the way?
You can take one of these mugs.
Okay, yeah, I was going to
These
save the
other
mugs for
two.
the guests.
No, you have to save these two for the guests.
Oh, this is for the guests.
You can have this one. So we actually have real mugs now that are branded with the show title, Coffee and Crabs. Thank you, Maureen Thomas, for putting these together.
Coffee and Crabs, Techport.
Yes,
yeah.
They're not bad.
Ooh.
They look pretty good. I think maybe we'll get them embroidered.
And tell us about the coffee too. Is this?
This is Chesapeake Brew House or Roast, Chesapeake Roast.
Yes,
I believe that's what it's called.
Yes, delicious.
Well, either way, we'll make sure everyone knows what the exact coffee is, and I think we're actually giving some of it away to the guests.
Yes, we are.
So let's not forget about that. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go national, regional, and then local as far as innovation and technology is concerned. So I just kind of propose what I think is interesting. Brian just kind of sits back and does nothing for this show. And
that's what I do best.
And then what he does is he acts stupid on purpose so that I get a chance to explain everything. So
the truth of the matter is I don't have to act. So
yeah, well, I guess maybe sometimes. Okay, so for starting on a national level / international level, I am going to bring up a topic that I like talking about again, which is cryptocurrency. Okay, why do I bring up cryptocurrency today? Because I just saw another press release that a company called MicroStrategy just admitted that they added about another $25 million of Bitcoin to their balance sheet. So the reason this is important is because they're one of the first publicly traded companies to acknowledge the fact that they're actually putting Bitcoin into.
So now why is that important that they publicly acknowledge that?
Because other people are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because other people are doing it. Something that's there's a lot of rules that are related to people who invest a lot of money. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Warren Buffett does not typically tell you what he's buying and selling until 3 months after he does it.
Right.
Because if he starts telling people what he's doing, then everybody just copies him.
Well, they copy it and it kind of inflates the market, for lack of a better term, right?
Well, it either inflates it or tanks.
Right.
So if Warren Buffett says he's buying a bunch of airline stock, then everybody rushes out to buy airline stock. If he says, hey, I think Southwest is doing poorly this quarter, I sold my position, the share price of Southwest just bottoms out.
But we really don't have enough time for this show because we could talk all show about this topic.
Is that a fair free market? No, it's not.
No, it's not. But you get a company like Tesla and typically Elon Musk.
They're doing it too. They're buying Bitcoin and putting it on their balance sheet.
But the thing about Elon Musk, he tells you what he's going to do.
He does.
And And that, as soon as he mentions that, everyone goes out and starts buying Bitcoin. Or I think he mentioned Dogecoin, I think at one point, and everyone went out and bought like
Dogecoin.
Whatever.
So Elon Musk has gotten himself into a lot of trouble because he always tells people what he's going to do. So he did not actually say Tesla is buying Bitcoin and putting it into the balance sheet. But what he did do was tweet about it, posted pictures about it, told everybody how much he loved it, and did everything he could possibly do to tell everyone, hey, I'm buying Bitcoin.
So he told everyone he's buying Bitcoin.
But he did not say Tesla is going to be the one that's taking it and putting it on their balance sheet.
Right.
But then all of a sudden one day he was like, oh, by the way, Tesla's been buying billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin.
So he's walking that line.
Right. So now both of these companies are out in the public domain, admitting that they are now putting this on their balance sheet. And MicroVision has even, MicroStrategy. MicroVision's another company that's involved with the next bullet point. They're just telling people that they're doing it. And both companies have actually profited billions of dollars by doing this. So everybody either loves Bitcoin or hates Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, publicly traded companies are now starting to put it on their balance sheet. Thoughts on this?
Well, my question for you is, that's not illegal, right? If I'm right now, as Brian Jordan, Tommy Luganbill, if I tell the world I'm buying stock in, I don't know, Jordan R&D, no one cares. But if I'm a mover like Warren Buffett, that controls the market. So there has to be some kind of legal ramifications of that.
There's a threshold for the percentage of a publicly traded company that you own. You have to be careful about what you say.
Correct.
I think it's like 10% or something like that.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that, but I knew there had to be some kind of threshold or some kind of line you'd had to walk, So.
Well, Bitcoin as of like an hour ago is trading at like $59,000. We've talked a lot about this. I think it has a long way to go.
Oh yeah.
Up for that matter. But is this crazy? I don't really think it's crazy. Some companies have gold on their balance sheet.
No, it's not crazy at all. It's novel.
Right. It's novel. And there's more of this to come.
Right.
All right. Next topic is Microsoft finally won a U.S. Army contract award for augmented reality of the Hololens.
Hololens, yes.
$21.9 billion. I believe this was a protested award that they finally got through.
Wow.
Now, do you understand what that means?
Absolutely.
You know what that means?
Well, I worked with augmented reality many years ago. I worked with a gentleman in, was in school, Bowie State. This is probably 2006.
Right.
That's how long ago we were working on this. And he was explaining it to me. And I kind of did some of his electronics with him. And I didn't quite understand it at the time, but, and I thought it was at the time kind of sci-fi, but now it's here. Well, it's been here. So yeah, I'm very familiar with augmented reality, and he explained to me
why don't you explain to everybody what it is.
Well, there you go. You put me on the spot. But augmented reality, you have virtual reality where you actually wear glasses or you wear something and you actually go into a virtual world. Right. And you have reality, like you're looking at me now. I'm looking at everything here. They have augmented reality where it combines the two. I'm looking at you, you're looking at me, and it has virtual overlays. For instance, the way I explained it years ago when we were working at Bowie State with the doctor there, I won't mention his name, he initially planned on it being used by the military for maintenance. If you're working on a vehicle, you put on your augmented reality glasses and you look at the engine you're working on, and there were arrows that told you, turn this bolt to the left, turn it to the right. And I even went to the Navy years ago when I was active, and we talked about using it in our heads-up display, and pilots would wear it, so you could see actually our line of sight and our travel, in the head-up display. So it actually tell us where to go. So, and of course, as of recently, it's been utilized by teenagers with filters, putting bunny ears on our faces in our talk. So
yeah,
my daughter puts.
Most people don't think of that as augmented reality.
That's where it really hit. That's where it made money.
Snapchat.
So, yes. That's augmented reality.
So here's how I understand that this contract is going to work, or at least a major portion of it. Battlefield uses in the battlefield.
Yes.
So you're going to have HoloLenses on your helmet, And let's say you've got a target, you're at a certain position, you need to take out a target, you put on the goggles, hit the button, it tells you exactly how far away you are, what you need to do to get to the target. Right. One of the things that was controversial about this originally was the developers who worked for Microsoft actually somewhat unionized. I don't know exactly the right wording on this, but they actually came together and said that they would not work on the project because they were pacifist. They didn't want to support something that would be used in combat. So that was like a huge deal.
Sounds like my wife. She forbid me from working on weapons too. So
yeah, well, anything could be a weapon. Anything could be a weapon. But so this finally got through protest.
So who, if you don't mind me asking, who protested?
The employees. Who protested the contract?
Yes, who protested
I
the contract?
actually don't know the answer to
that. I was kind of curious because that happens a lot, but
it almost always happens.
Yeah,
it's like par for the course. But this is a 10-year contract, $21.9 billion. I'm sure a lot of these jobs will be around here.
Yeah.
Especially in like the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area.
Well, for the warfighter, this is it's amazing. And not only used for soldiers on the ground, but certainly aviators or anyone else.
Right.
It's limitless. Like we talked about, for mechanics, for, just for travel. If you got soldiers in the battlefield, not only targets, but which way I don't need to go. I can input directions, overlay.
I was even thinking divers.
Absolutely.
You could do a lot of crazy stuff underwater with this.
Sure.
But I don't know if they're waterproof yet. Maybe that's what 2 of the $21 billion will be used for. All right. So let's go a little bit more to our neck of the woods. 2 events to make everybody aware of at a state level.
Okay.
One is Innovate Maryland. This is usually a pretty big event. Happens kind of not exactly on campus in College Park, but a little bit off campus.
Is this the one where Steve Binko rides around in the truck?
No.
Okay.
That's I'm blanking on the name of that one. That's like Startup Maryland.
That's it, Startup Maryland. Yeah.
I don't know if he still does that, but it's a bus that looks like the Maryland flag.
Yeah.
No. So there's like a mini concert hall / beer garden that's right off campus in College Park.
Oh.
And it's got a stage, and usually what they do is they have a huge event. Hundreds of people show up.
Wow.
They just invite people like Steve, Kevin Plank, and people that work at Google and things like that.
Right.
This year,
where's my invite?
Actually, I invited you. You probably just didn't read my email.
Okay.
It's on April 21st at 7 p.m.
Okay.
It's online.
Okay.
Sorry, I scowled. I should not have done that. I just like in-person things a lot better.
Me too.
However, it is taking place. We do have Dr. Daryl Pines. He's going to be speaking at that event. Of note for folks down in St. Mary's County, he was the former dean of the Clark School.
Okay.
And the test site, which is literally off camera, a couple doors down, he was big on getting the UAS test site down here. And then there's something called the third building, which is a brand new building that's going in at the airport where we are. And Dr. Pines, now President Pines, had a lot to do with that.
Gotcha.
So if you're in St. Mary's County, Dr. Pines, now President Pines, will be talking for a while. So that could be interesting, especially for folks down here. That is April 21st, which is a Wednesday, by the way. The other thing is TEDCO Techport Propelling Rural Innovation, May 18th, 1 p.m. I should know more about what this event is about because apparently I'm the one talking. But I will probably do a little bit of homework because I've got, like 7 weeks to prepare, 6 weeks to prepare. But joking aside, this will be a lot about probably folks like you who run rural businesses and just trying to make sure people actually take advantage of resources that are out there. But not only that, taking the folks who have the resources and showing them that folks like you exist.
Right. And that's important. If you are an innovation type firm or just an inventor or an engineer and you want to know more about it, certainly participate in that and get to know the people within TEDCO. And collaboration is key.
Yep. And that's May 18th at 1 p.m. It's a day before my father's birthday. So hopefully I remember that birthday. And then let's see. Local. There are 2 events coming up. We've got the T2 event, which happens on April 8th. April 8th, that's with Rick Tarr at 1 p.m. It's half the time he does it here, right where we're sitting. Other half the time he does it virtually. I do not know the topic of that event yet. I think we're still waiting for information. But those are usually about 20 to 30 minutes. So that's coming up on Thursday. And then I do know that the Velocity Center in Indian Head, which is something dear to my heart, is starting to do events.
Right. And last week we had an innovation topic at the Velocity Center where we had Wynn Briscoe with SBDC. We had Matt Scassero with the UAS test site, John Short, Dr. Dale. What's Dr. Dale's?
Dale Moore?
Dale Moore. Yeah, Dr. Moore was there.
Okay.
And they were virtual. And we talked about innovation in Southern Maryland. And I didn't really talk. I kind of rattled my gums for about 15 minutes and talked about innovation in this area. And the big thing for me in this area is how do we turn this area into something similar, not like, but similar to Silicon Valley on the West Coast? It truly is an ecosystem of innovation there. And if you've ever gone there, you see that the mindset is different from West Coast to East Coast. And I like that simply because they understand business, they understand innovation, they understand the scientific mindset. Where here, it's about money. What do you call it? Lobbying, politics, right? Those type of things. And I'll give you an example. Many years ago, when we had our first product, we looked for investors and what do you call those guys?
Venture capitalists.
Venture capitalists. Yes, we looked for venture capitalists here on the East Coast. They were few and far between. Most of them wouldn't talk to us. But we met a guy in New York who introduced us to a guy in California who was a hippie who just saw the idea. Former hippie, shall I say? He was a hippie back in the 60s.
No. Always a hippie.
Always a hippie.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing, he was really open and just saw, oh, wow, great idea. Let's throw some money at it and see what happens. And we came up with the Airzuka. And the Airzuka, we sold millions today. So
we got one over there.
Yeah, we got one over there as well. But that mentality is something that can be cultivated and brought here. Right here in this area, it's really military heavy, and that's cool from a military guy. But there's so much more to offer here. We have engineers, two of them you're going to see here shortly. A lot of smart people here, and we can bring that type of environment here on the East Coast. And this is the hub to do it. We're seeing a lot of that going on in Baltimore. With Kevin Plank and Under Armour, they're doing a lot of innovation. The Tidewater area and here. So anyway, that's kind of what I talked about.
Okay, cool.
Flat my gums for a while.
So yeah, just so people are aware, so Techport's been here 3 years and we're inside of an airplane hangar. The idea is that we're sitting inside of an innovation district. So you've got a lot of different types of defense contractors around here, and then you've got startups.
Yes.
And then the Velocity Center is sitting at the gate of another military installation, which is about approximately 40 miles away. Indian Head, yes. So, but there's also other facilities like this around the state. So you've got a place called Dreamport. I went up there probably like 5-6 years ago when it just started. 2,000 square feet in the first year, and now it's like 40,000 square feet. Wow, they do all sorts of cybersecurity type of stuff. They're actually right down the, I think like literally across the street from Tedco. So I don't know if you've ever been up to Tedco.
I don't think I have, no.
Right near Columbia, Maryland. But there's all sorts of buildings like this.
Okay.
And to your point, there's all sorts of ideas about what type of valley do you turn Maryland into. I'll throw this out there before we bring our guests on, but one of the big things that I've heard a lot about recently is quantum computing. And there's a lot of momentum towards going towards quantum.
Well, I hear people say, well, we're not Silicon Valley. No, we're not, and we're our own thing. But, it's for whatever it turns into, innovation is key. And when you come to Techport, you'll see there's really nothing else like this. We're not the biggest building, but the type of innovation that goes on here, we have UAVs, we have music, innovation takes many different forms. So keep that in mind. We talk about innovation. It's not necessarily technology driven.
Right. But definitely technology is involved, I would say. Yes. All right. So that's a wrap up of local events. All right. So as a reminder, this is Coffee and Crabs. We are talking about all sorts of crazy things. Today's April 5th. And now I think what we're going to do is probably bring in our guests. So I don't know if you want to introduce our guests.
Yeah, well, we have two guests from NAS Pax River. We have Cam Donahue and Theresa Shafer. Come on down.
We don't have a clap track yet. So.
See how we just appeared?
Disappeared, yeah.
Yes, welcome.
Awesome.
How you guys doing?
We are good.
So now, if you introduce yourselves, we have Cam.
Cam Donahue.
And Theresa Shafer.
Now, I like to talk about, let's start with you, Cam. You are flight test engineer?
I was just transitioning positions, but I am the technical director of the Flight Test Squadron VX-23 here on base. As a tech director, I manage all of the processes, the people, the equipment, the facilities that all go into flight tests on a day-to-day basis.
All the smart people. And Theresa.
So I am an engineer, an aerospace engineer by training and practice. And I did basically computational analysis for the majority of my career up until about 2 years ago. I transitioned into doing more outreach for the command. So now I manage our academic partnerships. So with places like University of Maryland and others that we have educational partnership agreements with.
Nice.
Awesome. Now, I want to talk about something else you're involved with. You guys have one of the t-shirts, stemming.
So do I.
And Tommy, and I don't have mine. I have one as well, but I didn't bring it today. So stemming, tell us more about that.
So stemming is something that was started about 9 years ago, actually by Cam, to help inspire our next generation. So with STEM fields, we definitely need more individuals to get excited about STEM, especially young girls to be confident in STEM, know that they can do it, because it really doesn't just take people who are good at math and science, but those that are really interested at creating and being innovative and taking that into the future. And so to give them the confidence to be able to achieve it, help them explore a myriad of STEM fields that they can get their hands involved. And it's not just engineering, but there's chemistry and biology and a lot of other fields that they can get excited about, and then help them to see themselves in those shoes when they grow up and move forward.
And we had our, Tommy.
So you started it.
Yes.
What? Okay, so sorry, I gotta
No,
ask her
that's
this.
good.
What motivated you to start it?
Oh, wow. I think a couple of factors. One, I'm a natural insomniac. So that same year, my husband was deployed.
Okay.
So I'm a single mom
Right.
with 2 kids. I started a brand new job as a
Which was down here.
F-35 mission
Okay.
systems lead. And I just said, man, I don't have enough to do. Let's start stemming.
Understood. Understood. Yeah.
So that was probably one factor. As you look around and as you do the research, the low numbers of women in STEM fields is not a secret, right? It's relatively low. We're in, like you said, a hub for technology, for science, for engineering, and math careers. But yet, as I was volunteering throughout the community, a lot of the volunteering activities didn't do a lot of hands-on activities. And that's how, when I was younger, that's how I learned, right? And then when I went to college at Cal Poly, and our model there was learn by doing.
Ooh.
And when you look at the low numbers of women in STEM and you attribute that to, okay, how do girls at that young age view STEM? They view it as mostly a male community. They think of engineers as nerds who walk around with glasses and pocket protectors. That's still right. That's still the concept. And they think it's not fun. They think it's just figuring out calculations on a math problem or remembering facts in a science book, and that's not it. So I wanted to create a event where they can do things hands-on, when they can learn by doing and really see and meet people that goes, hey, that's a female in STEM, and then it breaks down their misconceptions and they could really see themselves in that position. So that's why I wanted to start that. And then the third factor, I think, was as I was talking about STEM and talking about this concept of putting this activity together, one of the rear admirals that I was talking to, I ran into her at Subways, where all the PAX professionals go.
Wait, like actual Subway?
Yes, actual Subways.
Okay,
And
Got
she
it.
said, and she's like, I heard you wanted to put together an event. I've got a daughter that's in the middle school, and I want to see it happen this year. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And 2 months later, it happened.
Cool.
That is really awesome. And I think, the reason behind it, you don't see as many females, at least I think I know the reason, is one, we have preconceived notions that you talked about, it's a guy thing, guys typically do that. When I was a little boy, I was given trucks and my sister was given dolls, and as a dad, we have a father of four, 1 girl, 3 boys, I want to give them all equal chances to explore what they want to do. So in our house, there's no limitations. There are no boy and girl things. It's do what you want and let the chips fall where they may, and so of course, none of my kids are engineers, and none of them want to go into STEM. So, because my daughter actually, when she was in, what do you call it? Not off camera. What was the thing she was in? The STEM program.
He's breaking the fourth wall right now.
Yeah, I know, breaking it. So
let me loop this back here. Okay, so in a traditional year,
Yes.
what does STEMming look like? I know this year you guys did a recording. You did a recording here, and then you went live on Saturday, which I heard was really good.
Yes.
But traditionally, what does STEMming look like?
Yeah, so usually at the end of April, we host about 100 to 120 middle school girls from the Tri-County area down at St. Mary's College in Southern Maryland. So they're also getting a college experience so that's not as scary as well.
Yeah.
And one of the workshops that they have is kind of like a geocaching where they have to learn, GPS type of technologies to help find their way across campus. So then they're not as scared by what a college campus looks like. So we bring 120 girls, about 100 volunteers.
Wow.
And we have success bringing back volunteers year to year because it is such a mission that a lot of people can resonate with. And so we have about 200 plus people on campus for a Saturday from 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. In April. And the girls will go through some icebreaker events where they get to know one another at the table. They'll have 2 years ago, we brought in a flight simulator and games to help them kind of mingle and get around their peers, as well as find individuals in various STEM fields that they could talk to or volunteers. And then they have a keynote speaker, which Cam was our keynote this year. And then we take them through workshops. So they spend the morning and afternoon actually having a fully immersive STEM environment where they can take their hands on a whole bunch of different activities. And they select from about 15 workshops in a normal year. The cost is only $10.
Wow.
So our sponsors make it possible that we can provide this opportunity because our mission is not just to try to incentivize young women, but a diverse population. Right. So we don't want to make it financially impossible for anyone to attend. And if they do have, if they can't pay the $10, then we can work with you to find a way around that as well. So we want everyone to have this opportunity where, our goal is to target the whole population. And then we can also provide transportation from places that are further away, like Charles County. So we usually buy a bus and bring kids down from Charles County as well. Again, trying to reach those that are sometimes hard to reach and get them down here and let them meet all of our STEM individuals. And then the last bit we have is they have lunch with our Wonder Women. So these are fantastic role models in STEM, not just the engineers that you see on base, but people from, we had an archaeologist from St. Mary's this year. We've brought in people from the bio lab, people up the road, CSM, innovators, anyone female oriented that can be motivational for these young girls. And a lot of the questions we still see are things that I remember thinking when I was little, like, how was it being the only female in your engineering class or things like that? And so we are making some headway, but we still have a long way to go.
So it's been 9 years, right? Mm-hmm. So I met one young lady, I guess she was graduating high school, and she said she got into STEM because of going through your program.
Ooh, fantastic.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. I'm blanking on her name right now, but are there any... So I'm trying to think if they're 7th grade, that's like 11 years old, 12 years old.
12, I think.
So are there any young ladies that have since graduated from college by this point, or they would be like 21 years old, right? Yeah,
so that's a good question. About 3 years ago, we went back to all our participants and sent out some kind of status surveys. Like, did this help? Where did it go? And we had a lot of positive feedback. We were able to identify at least 2 young ladies who have transitioned into either an internship or employment in STEM that their parents were like, yeah, this absolutely made a difference.
That's cool.
But it is really hard to track and get that information with students.
I think even before that, we are getting students that went through the program that are now volunteering when they're in high school.
That's kind of what I was curious
and
about.
getting into and about to go into college in a STEM field.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, I wasn't trying to ask for like specific metrics, but more kind of, it was interesting to me that the one young lady who said, oh, well, 5 years ago, I the Wonder Woman event, I was there. And then all of a sudden now she was helping you guys put on the event. So it sounds like there's others that do that too,
Yes.
which is really cool. And sorry, I cut you off. I know you were.
No. That's good. I'm kind of curious with both of you, and you're certainly a lot younger than me. But when you guys were in the engineering field, were you like the only women in your classes a lot of times, or?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, we were actually talking about this last weekend where, I mean, we went to school. I went to school, you know, and this is fairly recent in the big scheme of things. And we're talking about, oh man, it's 2021, and we don't believe that just the limitations that other people put on women in STEM still occurs, right? And we're talking about how when I went to college, yes, absolutely, I was the only female in a graduating class of aeronautical engineers.
Wow.
Additionally, I had a aeronautical engineer professor that specifically said the engineering realm is not a place for females.
Wow.
Right? In a college campus,
Crazy.
specifically for engineering.
In California
And
too.
I know.
In California,
So yes, it still occurs, right? And some of the limitations that you pointed out about, as a parent, I want to be able to show my children, whether they're male or female, all the opportunities that they have. But the limitations that middle school girls put on themselves is exterior based, right? From the parents, from the school, from their friends.
Yes.
And also on themselves. So stemming tries to attack each one of those realms, because you can't just fix one area and expect it to be effective everywhere. So by stemming, pulling all the girls together in just an environment where they can see that they can succeed, they don't have the pressures of maybe another person that's extremely outspoken, or a male that's moving faster or more forward than them. You know, we pull them all together and say, okay, this can be done. You've got the talent to do it. You've got the desire to do it. Let us help you walk you through that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just finding somebody that you can familiarize yourself with. There was a young lady I was talking to the other day who is from a diverse background, and she has an accent, and she was very nervous and self-conscious about her accent. And so we were like, well, we're going to find you a Wonder Woman who also has an accent, and you can see how rockin' she is, and hopefully that'll give you the confidence to be able to try it. And at least, you know, that's all we're asking. Just try it. It might be for you and it might not, but the skills you learn in engineering can translate into any field.
Absolutely.
The critical thinking, the ability to, you know, process something, to try it. Half the time, more than half the time, you're going to fail and you're going to make a mistake, but that's part of the engineering process. And getting comfortable with that is also something that young girls have to kind of learn.
One of the pieces that Teresa's talking about in terms of like try it, like we try to make our workshops attractive enough to young females, right? So again, the misconception of what STEM is in the female's mind, and we're trying to change that through our workshops. So for example, we've had workshops that brought together chemistry by allowing the students to make their own makeup. Right. So by doing things like making lip gloss or making blush, making perfume, and tying together what's the chemical reactions and the STEM that goes into that, gets them interested. We also had another workshop where we brought together concepts of combinations and permutations by talking about, okay, look at your closet. Let's say you've got 3 dresses and 4 shirts. How many combinations and permutations of an outfit can you make?
Isn't that 4-3 explanation point? Isn't that how it works?
That's it.
Am I right?
You're
okay,
right.
cool. Yeah. That's interesting.
Factorial.
Factorial, yes.
Factorial, yes. And then to make things fun, you know, again, we're talking about learning STEM, not just by figuring out how to multiply something on a piece of paper or remembering facts in a book, but actually going to the climbing wall when we were down at St. Mary's College, they've got a climbing wall there.
Really?
And we did
That's one
a
of our
whole
workshops.
workshop about friction, mass,
Physics,
weight, a whole
gravity.
physics
Yeah.
workshop, and they got to climb on the wall.
That's a big hit year after year.
Wow.
And you mentioned the lip gloss line, and you mentioned Wynn Briscoe earlier. She's also one of our workshop leads that contributes to both the creation of a workshop as well as sponsors.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah.
So that helps break down the misconceptions, of what STEM really is, whether or not you can apply it to everyday life, because you can. A lot of students don't see that right now and don't believe that. And then it breaks down the misconception of it's male only, it's masculine, all these.
It's not cool or not fun.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we miss a lot when we put those biases and limitations on things. I always tell the story the reason I say that is there's talent everywhere.
Absolutely.
There's so much talent we're missing, and we're cutting half of our population off by saying it's only male.
Yeah.
And I went to an all-male college at the time. It was all male then. It's not now, thank goodness. It's called VMI, Virginia Military Institute, and it was taught by these old professors from the 1950s when I was there. And they weren't shy about their opinion or what women should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I was tickled when VMI went co-ed, because now you get a whole new talent pool coming in and a whole new perspective on things. So that's the way I look at it. So,
well, have you ever been in a situation where you're the only man in the room?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
So I took women's studies in college.
Mm.
I was the only guy in the class, and it's interesting because I'll be honest with you. I will say I was slightly more motivated to try and do well because I was the outcast of the class. No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Because let me be very honest with you. And this is probably what women go through when they're in engineering classes. The professor was a woman. And she was thinking to herself, why is this guy in my class? That is the vibe that I got.
Yeah.
And so I had to work extra hard to be like, I should be in this class. Why shouldn't I understand women in history? And so ultimately the class went well. I got along very well with the professor, but there was like an extra strain when I took that class. And I will distinctly remember that forever.
Wow.
But now I'm trying to conceive it as, if every single class I took was like that, it would have been pretty bad. It would have been hard. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
I can relate to the feeling of extra motivation. And I didn't have anybody that, stood in my way or made it really difficult. I actually had a lot of people doing the opposite that kind of helped me along the way and made sure that I could stand and keep moving and had the ability, kind of like what we're trying to do with stemming. So because of that, the paying it forward is very motivational to me. But I loved actually being someone who stood out. I thought I'm like, all right, well, they're going to remember me, so I'm going to make it count. And that's kind of the take I have. And what I try to tell young girls is you're going to be remembered. So make sure it's for something good.
It's a positive thing. That's exactly right. Wow.
Well,
I love being an engine nerd.
I'm terrible at math, so I don't understand. You guys can all talk about numbers and stuff. Okay, so my last wrap-up question is, are there any events this year, any more events happening this year for stemming? And then if someone missed this year or they were too young, what's the future look like for stemming that people can prepare for?
Sure. So the whole month, with anyone who signed up this year got a free kit. We provided them with kits. And so for the month of April, they will have access to Google Classroom, which is our pre-recorded videos of the at-home workshops. And then we're going to have a closing event on April 24th. So we'll be back out on Facebook Live and our Zoom account to wrap things up and encourage you on which ways you can STEM moving forward. Because this isn't just a single event. We hope it's part of a lifeline learning commitment on behalf of these students. Then for next year, we usually open up registration in the February timeframe for anyone who wants to participate. And hopefully we'll be back in person. So it's usually about the third week of April if we are in person. If not, provide us your feedback on this year so we can even be better for virtual next year. And then in the fall and spring, we try to participate in as many of the STEM or STEAM festivals that the Tri-County area does. So if those can be in person, you'll find us out there with fun workshops and and motivational tips.
Oh, the STEAM Festival is coming up.
That's on the
Um,
24th, I think, as well, the same day.
Okay, so April 24th,
museum.
the museum STEAM Festival, same day that you guys are also
Mhm.
doing it. Okay, so hopefully one way or another, young ladies can get involved with one of those.
Yes.
Yes.
But this is awesome. Congratulations on starting this. It's a huge achievement. Thank you for continuing to spread the word.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts from you?
No, I was going to mention STEAM earlier, but you guys are awesome. Nothing else.
Well, thanks for having us here today.
Yes, thank you guys for joining. And for all you guys out there, we will be back in 2 weeks on Monday. And for any information on stemming or anything we spoke about today, we will share links in the comments of the show. And we appreciate everybody watching today.
Thanks.
So thank you guys.
Thank you.